The restaurant door swung open, and Mark's heart stopped. His blind date wasn't alone. She stood there, beautiful in a simple blue dress, holding the hand of a small boy who couldn't have been more than 5. Their eyes met across the crowded restaurant, and in that moment, Mark knew his life would never be the same. What he didn't know was that the child wasn't even the biggest surprise she was bringing to their table tonight. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us all of the unexpected ways love finds us when we least expect it. Mark fidgeted with his napkin, checking his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. 7:15. She was 15 minutes late. He was starting to think he'd been stood up, which wouldn't have surprised him. Dating as a single father of 2 teenage daughters had proven nearly impossible over the past 3 years since Sarah's death. His friend Damon had insisted this woman was different. "Trust me," he'd said. "Eliza is amazing. Smart, kind, gorgeous, and she gets it, man. She understands what it's like to have your life not go according to plan." Mark had reluctantly agreed, though he'd made Damon promise not to mention his daughters. He preferred to bring them up himself, to gauge a date's reaction before investing any emotional energy. Too many women had that look, the one that said they weren't interested in becoming an instant mother to someone else's children. Just as he was about to text Damon that he was leaving, the door opened. The woman who entered matched the photo Damon had shown him, shoulder-length chestnut hair, warm brown eyes, and a smile that lit up her entire face. But the photo hadn't shown the little boy clutching her hand, looking around the restaurant with wide, curious eyes. Mark's stomach dropped. She had a child. Damon hadn't mentioned that. For a moment, he considered slipping out the back door. He'd already raised his children. Emma was 17 and Lily 15. He wasn't sure he wanted to start over with a toddler. But then Eliza spotted him, and her smile was so genuine that he found himself standing, waving her over. "You must be Mark," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Eliza. And this is Noah." The little boy looked up at Mark with solemn eyes. "Hello," he said quietly. "I'm so sorry I'm late," Eliza continued, sliding into the booth across from Mark. "Noah's babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I hope you don't mind that I brought him. I almost called to cancel, but Damon said you were." She trailed off, looking embarrassed. "He said I was what?" Mark asked, curious despite himself. "That you were worth meeting," she finished, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. Mark found himself smiling. "Well, I hope I live up to the hype." Noah was busy with the children's menu and crayons the waitress had brought, coloring carefully within the lines of a cartoon pirate ship. "He's very focused," Mark observed. "Yes," Eliza said, watching her son with a mixture of pride and something else Mark couldn't quite identify. "Noah is very detail-oriented. He notices everything." There was an awkward pause as they both studied their menus. Mark couldn't help stealing glances at Eliza. She was even more beautiful in person than in her photo, but there was a guardedness about her, a tension in her shoulders as if she was waiting for something unpleasant to happen. "So," Mark said finally, "Damon tells me you're a physical therapist?" Eliza nodded, visibly relaxing at the change of subject. "Yes, I work primarily with children. What about you?" "Damon mentioned you're in construction?" "I own a small contracting company," Mark said. "We specialize in renovations and restorations of older homes." "That sounds fascinating," Eliza said, and she seemed genuinely interested. "I've always loved old houses. They have so much character." The conversation flowed more easily after that. They discovered a shared love of hiking, classic movies, and terrible puns. Noah remained quietly absorbed in his coloring, occasionally asking his mother to help him read a word on the menu. By the time their entrees arrived, Mark had almost forgotten his initial disappointment. Eliza was smart, funny, and easy to talk to. And Noah was well-behaved and sweet, carefully eating his chicken fingers without making a mess. "So," Mark said, taking a sip of his wine, "Damon didn't mention you had a son." Eliza's smile faltered slightly. "No, I suppose he wouldn't have. I don't always bring it up right away when I meet new people. Some men see a single mom and run for the hills." "I understand that," Mark said. "I have 2 daughters myself. Emma and Lily." Eliza's eyes widened. "You do? How old are they?" 17 and 15, Mark said. "They live with me full-time. Their mother passed away 3 years ago." "I'm so sorry," Eliza said softly, reaching across the table to touch his hand briefly. "That must have been incredibly difficult for all of you." Mark nodded, surprised by the lump in his throat. Most of his dates offered perfunctory condolences before quickly changing the subject. Eliza's eyes held genuine empathy. "It was," he admitted. "Still is, sometimes. But we're doing okay. They're amazing girls. Strong, like their mother. I'd love to meet them someday," Eliza said, then immediately looked embarrassed. "I mean, not that I'm assuming." Mark laughed. "I know what you meant. And I think they'd like you." Noah looked up from his coloring. "Mommy, can I have dessert?" "Let's finish our dinner first, sweetie," Eliza said, smoothing his hair. Mark watched the interaction, noticing how Noah leaned into his mother's touch, how her entire face softened when she looked at him. There was something about their bond that seemed especially intense, even for a parent and child. "How old is Noah?" Mark asked. "He's 5, Eliza said. He'll start kindergarten in the fall." "Are you excited about school, Noah?" Mark asked. Noah nodded solemnly. "I want to learn everything," he said. "Especially about space. And dinosaurs." "Those are excellent choices," Mark said seriously. "My daughter Lily went through a major dinosaur phase. She could pronounce Pachycephalosaurus before she could tie her shoes." Noah's eyes lit up. "That's the one with the thick skull cap. They used to think they butted heads like rams, but now scientists think they might have hit each other on the sides instead." Mark blinked, impressed. "That's exactly right. You really do know your dinosaurs." Eliza smiled proudly. "Noah absorbs information like a sponge. Once he's interested in something, he learns everything he can about it." The rest of dinner passed pleasantly. They shared a dessert, chocolate lava cake that Noah declared was the most delicious thing in the universe, and by the time Mark paid the bill, over Eliza's protests, he found himself reluctant for the evening to end. "Would you like to take a walk?" he suggested. "There's a nice park just down the street. It might give Noah a chance to burn off some energy before bedtime." Eliza hesitated. "That sounds lovely, but it's getting dark." "Noah doesn't. He doesn't see well in low light." Something in her tone made Mark look more closely at Noah. The boy was carefully putting his crayons back in order, lining them up by color. His movements were precise, but now that Mark was paying attention, he noticed that Noah's gaze didn't quite focus on the crayons. Instead, his small hands moved with practiced efficiency, feeling each crayon before placing it in line. "Noah is visually impaired," Eliza said quietly, watching Mark's face. "He has a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. It's degenerative. He still has some central vision during the day, but he can't see in dim light, and his peripheral vision is already severely limited. Eventually, he'll lose his sight completely." Mark felt a wave of understanding wash over him. This was the secret she'd been carrying, the reason for the tension he'd sensed in her all evening. "I'm sorry," he said. "That must be challenging for both of you." Eliza nodded, her eyes suddenly bright with unshed tears. "It is. But Noah is incredible. He adapts so quickly, learns so fast. He's already learning Braille, and he navigates familiar spaces like he can see perfectly. He's the bravest person I know. Noah looked up at the sound of his name. Are we going home now, Mommy? Yes, sweetheart, Eliza said, composing herself. It's getting late. Mark walked them to their car, watching as Eliza helped Noah buckle into his booster seat with practiced efficiency. When she closed the door and turned to face him, there was a resignation in her expression that made his heart ache. I had a wonderful time tonight, Mark, she said. Thank you for dinner, and for being so kind to Noah. I had a great time too, Mark said. I'd like to see you again. Both of you. Eliza looked surprised. You would? Even knowing about Noah's condition? Mark stepped closer, taking her hand gently. Eliza, I'm a single dad. I know that when you date someone with kids, you're dating the whole package. Noah seems like an amazing kid, and you're... He paused, suddenly feeling shy. You're someone I'd like to get to know better. Eliza's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. I'd like that too. How about Sunday? Mark suggested. We could go to the Children's Museum. I think Noah would love it, and it's well lit inside. My girls are with their grandparents this weekend, but maybe next time they could join us. Next time, Eliza repeated, as if testing the words. I'd like that. Sunday sounds perfect. Mark leaned in and kissed her cheek softly. I'll text you the details. As he watched them drive away, Mark felt a lightness in his chest that had been absent for too long. He'd gone to dinner expecting a simple blind date and instead had found something much more complex and potentially much more rewarding. The Children's Museum was a hit. Noah was fascinated by the tactile exhibits, especially the one that allowed visitors to feel different animal pelts and guess what they were. Mark was impressed by his knowledge and his fearlessness in exploring new things. He's always been like this, Eliza explained as they watched Noah carefully making his way through a maze designed to teach children about echolocation. Even when he was tiny, he wanted to touch everything, experience everything. When we got his diagnosis when he was 3, the doctor told me to let him see the world while he still could. So we've been on a mission ever since. That's why you became a physical therapist? Mark asked. To help him? Eliza nodded. I was already in school for it when Noah was born, but after his diagnosis, I specialized in pediatric therapy, particularly for visually impaired children. I wanted to understand everything I could about how to help him navigate the world. You're an amazing mother, Mark said sincerely. Eliza blushed. I'm just doing what any parent would do. You understand, you raised your girls alone after losing your wife. That takes incredible strength. It wasn't always pretty, Mark admitted. There were days I wasn't sure I could do it. Days I still don't feel like I'm doing it right. But you keep showing up, Eliza said. That's what matters. Their eyes met, and Mark felt a connection that went beyond physical attraction. Here was someone who understood the weight of sole responsibility for a child, the fear of making mistakes, the constant worry that you weren't doing enough. Noah came running back to them, his face flushed with excitement. Mommy! I found the bat. I could hear it making clicking sounds, just like real bats do for echo. Echolocation, Eliza supplied, kneeling down to his level. That's amazing, Noah. You have such good hearing. Mr. Mark, did you know that bats aren't really blind? Noah asked, turning to Mark. They can see, but they use sound to hunt at night because it works better than eyes in the dark. I didn't know that, Mark said, genuinely interested. That's fascinating. Like me, Noah said matter-of-factly. I can see some things, but sometimes I use my cane or my hands instead. And my ears. I'm really good at listening. Mark felt his heart swell with admiration for this brave, matter-of-fact little boy. You are excellent at listening, he agreed. And at explaining things. I've learned a lot from you today. Noah beamed. can we go see the dinosaur bones next? Absolutely, Mark said, offering his hand without thinking. Noah took it without hesitation, his small fingers wrapping trustingly around Mark's. On Noah's other side, Eliza took his other hand, and together they walked toward the paleontology exhibit, looking for all the world like a family. The next few weeks passed in a blur of outings and dinners. Mark introduced Eliza and Noah to his daughters, holding his breath as he waited for their reaction. To his relief, Emma and Lily took to them immediately. Emma, always the more reserved of the two, was impressed by Eliza's career and asked thoughtful questions about her work with visually impaired children. Lily and Noah bonded instantly over their shared love of dinosaurs and space. Noah, want to see my collection of dinosaur models? Lily asked during their first dinner together at Mark's house. Noah nodded eagerly, and Mark watched as his 15-year-old daughter carefully took the 5-year-old's hand, guiding him to her room with a gentleness that made his throat tight. She's good with him, Eliza observed, standing beside Mark in the kitchen as they prepared dinner. She's always had a nurturing streak, Mark said. Takes after her mother that way. Tell me about Sarah, Eliza said softly. If you want to, that is. Mark paused in chopping vegetables, surprised by the request. Most women he'd dated had avoided mentioning Sarah, as if speaking her name might conjure her ghost. She was extraordinary, he said finally. Brilliant, funny, stubborn as hell. She was a pediatric surgeon. Saved countless kids' lives. She loved our girls fiercely, taught them to be strong and independent. When she got sick, she faced it with the same determination she faced everything. Never complained, not once, even at the end. Eliza touched his arm gently. She sounds remarkable. Your daughters are lucky to have had her as a mother, even if it wasn't for long enough. What about Noah's father? Mark asked, realizing he'd never brought it up before. Eliza's expression closed slightly. He left when I told him about Noah's diagnosis. Said he didn't sign up for a special needs kid. We weren't married, thankfully, so the legal side was simple. He signed away his parental rights and moved to California. Noah doesn't remember him. Mark felt a surge of anger toward this nameless man who had abandoned his child and the woman he claimed to love when things got difficult. His loss, he said firmly. Noah is an incredible kid. Eliza's smile was grateful. Yes, he is. From upstairs came the sound of childish laughter and Lily's animated voice, presumably explaining something about her dinosaur collection. They're getting along well, Mark observed. Noah doesn't always connect with other children, Eliza admitted. He's so much in his head sometimes, so focused on his interests. And some kids don't know how to interact with him because of his vision issues. But he seems completely comfortable with your girls. They have that effect on people, Mark said proudly. Emma's the quiet, thoughtful one, and Lily's the social butterfly. Between the two of them, they make everyone feel welcome. Eliza leaned against the counter, watching him chop vegetables with a small smile on her face. What? He asked, feeling self-conscious. Nothing, she said. I like watching you talk about your daughters. Your whole face lights up. Mark felt himself blushing like a teenager. Well, they're the best things in my life. As it should be, Eliza said softly. Later, after dinner, when Noah had fallen asleep on the couch during a movie and the girls had retreated to their rooms, Mark and Eliza sat on the back porch, sharing a bottle of wine. I never expected this, Eliza admitted, looking up at the stars. When Damon suggested setting us up, I almost said no. Dating as a single mom is hard enough, but with Noah's condition. She trailed off. What changed your mind? Mark asked. Damon told me you were different, she said. That you understood what it meant to put your children first, to build your life around them. He said you were kind and patient. She smiled, turning to look at Mark. He was right. Mark reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. I almost said no too, he confessed. I thought I was done with dating. It seemed too complicated, too risky. The girls have been through so much already. And now? Eliza asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Now I'm glad I said yes, Mark said simply. Very glad. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. Instead, she met him halfway, her lips soft against his. The kiss was gentle, tentative at first, then deepening as she moved closer. When they finally broke apart, Eliza's eyes were shining in the moonlight. I should wake Noah, she said reluctantly. We should get home. Stay, Mark said impulsively. We have a guest room. It's late, and Noah's already asleep. You could both stay the night and have breakfast with us in the morning. Eliza hesitated. I don't have any of Noah's things, his pajamas, his toothbrush. I'm sure Lily has an old t-shirt he could sleep in, and we have spare toothbrushes, Mark said. Unless you're uncomfortable with the idea. No, Eliza said, smiling. Actually, it sounds perfect. As summer turned to fall, their relationship deepened. Noah started kindergarten, thriving with the help of specialized teachers and the accommodations the school provided for his vision impairment. Mark attended his first day alongside Eliza, both of them fighting back tears as the brave little boy marched into his classroom, white cane in hand, ready to conquer the world. Emma left for college, a bittersweet milestone that left Mark emotional for days. Eliza held him through his tears, understanding the complex mix of pride and loss that came with watching your child take their first steps into adulthood. Lily and Noah grew closer, the teenager taking her role as honorary big sister seriously. She learned about retinitis pigmentosa, researching it extensively and adapting her games and activities to accommodate Noah's changing vision. She taught him to identify dinosaurs by touch, creating clay models with exaggerated features that he could recognize by feeling their shapes. By Thanksgiving, they were spending most nights together, alternating between Mark's house and Eliza's apartment. They developed routines and traditions, inside jokes and favorite meals. They became, in every way that mattered, a family. It was Christmas Eve when Mark finally found the courage to ask the question that had been on his mind for months. They were at his house, which was now their house in all but name. Noah was asleep, dreaming of Santa's arrival. Lily was in her room, wrapping last-minute gifts. The tree lights twinkled in the darkness, casting a warm glow over the living room. I have something for you, Mark said, reaching into his pocket. I know we said we'd wait until tomorrow for gifts, but this one can't wait. Eliza looked up from the book she was reading, curiosity in her eyes. What is it? Mark knelt beside her chair, taking her hand in his. Eliza, this past year has been the most unexpected gift. When you walked into that restaurant with Noah, I had no idea my life was about to change completely. You've brought so much joy, so much love into our home. You and Noah belong here, with us. He opened the small velvet box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. Will you marry me? Will you make our family official? Eliza's free hand flew to her mouth, tears springing to her eyes. Mark, she whispered. Are you sure? Noah's condition is progressing. The next few years will be challenging as he loses more of his vision. It's a lot to take on. I'm not just asking to marry you, Mark said firmly. I'm asking to be Noah's father, in every way that matters. I want to be there for both of you, through whatever comes. The hard days and the good ones. All of it. Eliza launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking him over. Yes, she said through her tears. Yes to all of it. They were still embracing when a small voice came from the doorway. Mommy? Why are you crying? They turned to see Noah standing there in his dinosaur pajamas, his favorite stuffed triceratops clutched in one hand. Happy tears, sweetheart, Eliza said, wiping her eyes. Mark just asked us to be part of his family forever. He wants to be your dad. Noah's face lit up. Really? Like, a real dad who lives with us all the time and tucks me in every night? Mark crossed the room and knelt in front of the boy. Really? If that's okay with you. Noah threw his arms around Mark's neck. That's the best Christmas present ever, he declared. Even better than the telescope I asked Santa for. Over Noah's head, Mark met Eliza's eyes, seeing in them the same overwhelming love and gratitude he felt. They had both been broken in different ways when they met, Mark by grief, Eliza by abandonment and fear for her son's future. Together, they had found healing, creating something stronger and more beautiful from the broken pieces. The wedding was small and perfect, held in the backyard of their home the following spring. Emma came home from college to be her father's best woman. Lily was Eliza's maid of honor. And Noah, dressed in a miniature tuxedo that matched Mark's, proudly carried the rings, navigating the aisle with confidence despite his increasingly limited vision. I can see the important things, he told Mark the night before the wedding, as they sat on the porch swing. I can see that you make mommy happy. I can see that you love me even though you didn't have to. Some things you see with your heart, not your eyes. Mark had hugged the wise little boy, marveling at how someone so young could understand something so profound. You're right, buddy. The most important things are seen with the heart. As they exchanged vows under an arch of spring flowers, with their children beside them and friends surrounding them, Mark thought about the unexpected journey that had brought them here. A blind date that had changed everything. A woman who arrived with a child and a secret, both of which had become the greatest blessings of his life. I promise to be your partner in all things, he said, holding Eliza's hands tightly in his. To face whatever comes together. To love Noah as my own son. To build a life filled with joy and purpose, even in the face of challenges. I promise to trust in our love, Eliza responded, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. To remember that family isn't just about blood, but about choice. To face Noah's journey and our own with courage, knowing we don't walk alone. After the ceremony, as they danced under strings of lights in the yard, Noah between them, Mark caught Emma watching them with a thoughtful expression. What are you thinking about, sweetheart? He asked when the dance ended. I was just thinking about Mom, she said. How happy she would be to see this. To know we found our way back to joy. Mark hugged his oldest daughter tightly. She would be. She always wanted us to be happy, even after she was gone. She would have loved Eliza and Noah, Emma said confidently. They're exactly what our family needed. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the children were asleep, Mark and Eliza stood in their kitchen, still in their wedding clothes. Thank you, Eliza said softly, for loving us. For not running when you saw Noah that first night. For seeing beyond his diagnosis to the amazing person he is. Thank you for trusting me with your heart, Mark replied. For giving me a second chance at love when I thought that part of my life was over. We're going to have challenges, Eliza said, always the pragmatist. Noah's vision will continue to deteriorate. There will be hard days ahead. And we'll face them together, Mark said firmly. One day at a time. Just like we've faced everything else. Eliza smiled, leaning into his embrace. Together, she agreed. That's all that matters. 5 years later, Noah stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon, his hands gripping the railing tightly. At 10 years old, he had lost most of his vision, retaining only the ability to distinguish between light and dark, and occasionally to make out vague shapes in perfect lighting conditions. Describe it to me, Dad, he said, using the name he had called Mark since their wedding day. Mark stood behind his son, hands on his shoulders. It's vast, he began. Stretching as far as you can imagine in every direction. The rocks are layers of red and orange and brown, like the pages of an ancient book telling the story of the earth. The Colorado River looks tiny from up here, a thin blue ribbon winding through the bottom of the canyon. I can feel how big it is, Noah said thoughtfully. The way the wind moves, the echo when people talk. It's like standing at the edge of forever. That's exactly right, Mark said, amazed as always by Noah's perception. It's like standing at the edge of forever. Eliza joined them, slipping her arm around Mark's waist. What do you think, Noah? Was it worth the trip? Definitely, Noah said decisively. I can't see it with my eyes, but I can see it in my mind from Dad's description. And I can feel it. That's even better sometimes. They stood together, a family forged not by blood but by choice and love, facing the vastness of the canyon as they had faced every challenge in their life together, side by side, drawing strength from each other. Later, as they walked back to their hotel, Noah using his cane with the confidence of long practice, Mark reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A blind date that had turned into so much more. A woman who had arrived with a child and a secret, both of which had become the center of his world. Life hadn't been perfect. There had been difficult days, Noah's frustration as his vision deteriorated, the challenges of blending their families, the ordinary struggles of marriage and parenthood. But through it all, they had chosen each other, again and again. They had built something beautiful from broken pieces, creating a family bound by love rather than obligation. As they reached the hotel, Noah turned to Mark. Dad, remember when you told me that some things are seen with the heart, not the eyes? I remember, Mark said, smiling at the memory of their conversation the night before the wedding. You were right, Noah said simply. I see our family that way. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Mark hugged his son, his heart full to bursting. Yes, he agreed, meeting Eliza's eyes over Noah's head. It absolutely is. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Life's most beautiful journeys often begin with unexpected detours, and sometimes the greatest blessings arrive disguised as challenges. Remember that families come in all forms, and love, real, enduring love, sees with the heart, not the eyes. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.